New York did it, bro. New York did it, bro. Like it it was just a glimpse of a thought. They get past Harden, they go to the finals. And it's like, like what if New York is the truth? Oftentimes we joke about the team that comes out of the East. Ha ha, look at them. They're playing for second place. And New York, there was just an energy to it. Last year, it's not like they were bad. They lost to Indiana. They came back, had a couple of chokes themselves, and then they had OG Anunoby injured. And it's like, all right, whatever. They're not going to do it. Oh, Boston's going to be back. And if we're being transparent, that was my pick to win the finals originally, was the Boston Celtics. And then they get handled by the 76ers. The 76ers go on and get handled by the Knicks. The Knicks go on and handle the Cavs and then handle the Spurs. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ajay Patel Show. I'm sorry I've been gone for quite a while, but man, it's been going down. And we got to start with, of course, good old New York, New York, New York. We've talked about how it's one of the greatest cities in the world, if not maybe the greatest city in the world. And the breed of people are different. I get it. Everyone's watching the videos of these fans getting beaten up. And yes, it's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing, but at least they're showing you this is what's happening. They're giving you the warning sign of, hey, if you're a San Antonio Spurs fan, we're letting you know we will literally kill you to win this championship. That's how much we want it. They always talk about it in sports, who wanted it more. And it's like, sometimes that's just bullshit. Sometimes shots go in, sometimes you miss, sometimes you run into this and that, injuries, the things fall out of the sky. But when someone is showing you, right, they're not being secretive about it. They're not, beating up people in alleys and then getting away in the dark of the night. They are beating you up in public, following you down streets, blocks, it doesn't matter. They're showing you, we will kill you. And then you just see, holy shit, man. That, I'm not saying that should be a thing. That's horrible. But at least they're showing it to you. That makes you, as a San Antonio Spurs fan, be like, you know what, I should probably not go to that game, or I should probably not wear my jersey when I go to that game. Work brought me out here for consulting, and I really like being in finance, and there's not much for me down in San Antonio, so I thought I'd come to the Big Apple. San Antonio, yeah, I grew up with them. Tim Duncan, oh my gosh, he won so many championships across my childhood, and I'm a big Spurs fan. But then my husband went to the game, and he got killed on the way back home. Oh, they put it on the video. Yeah, it's on the internet and everything. New York did it, bro. Jalen Brunson, the talk of the town. Everyone keeps, joking to me about like, oh, bro, you guys traded away a champion. And, oh, how, it's what I didn't do it. It wasn't me, bro. This has just been what they do to us. We trade him away. Obviously, then the Luka thing happens. Then this whole Anthony Davis situation happened. And it's just like this love story that's been painful for the past 5 years. Jalen Brunson, that man literally carried us past the Utah Jazz when Luka went down during that Western Conference Finals run. And he, honestly, what it sounded like back then was just like he wanted a bigger deal based on how he was playing, which makes sense. And then he gets that deal in New York. And then, like, what great decision on his part. Because imagine being in this professional sport, and you are the backup to the best player on the team in a mid-city market, right? You're playing in the NBA, but Dallas isn't the big market for basketball. At the end of the day, Texas, Dallas, Houston, it doesn't matter. It's a football state. You go from this little basketball state off to New York City, the Mecca, the Holy Grail. Don't forget 9/11. New York City. Start spreading the New York City. And you become the man. You become the man. You hooping. You got your bros coming that you became boys with in college. Now they're playing on your professional team. You guys are all living in the city. Maybe you're still at similar walks of life. Maybe you have a wife. Maybe you have a kid now. And you living a good life in New York. Then you go to work and you're the man for these people. You're the man for these people. You hooping like you've never hooped before. People giving you MVP nods. And then game by game, you are busting players. You are busting people that they thought, man, Jalen Brunson, that man too small. Josh Hart, what is he going to do? Oh, Mikal Bridges. I was the biggest Mikal Bridges hater. Oh, my gosh. You would think he's playing for the other team half the time. And I watched that whole Knicks comeback against the Cavs. And there's just certain games where it's just like, bro, what? How are they winning these games like this? And, I do like to kind of like think about this. We're really getting into basketball on this episode back, but you just you gotta take it in, take it in. With the Kunal's Corner podcast is probably never coming back to life, honestly. But I want to talk about ball real quick. It's the one time, and then we move on to the World Cup. Woohoo. So focus on ball. I try to figure out like the whole science thing. It's fun to like watch basketball and be like, okay, like this is how they're being able to do this. Whether it's like, they run a zone and they don't really have great perimeter shooting, or they're shooting X amount of free throws and they don't get fouled, or you try to figure out what the game plan is for each team. And you slowly see shit happen. San Antonio and OKC, that was honestly some great basketball. It was some great basketball. I get it, San Antonio. It frustrates the hell out of me. They end up on the floor half of the possessions. They do they get the whole foul baiting narrative on them. They're a good team, and they'll probably win the West next year. Who knows? But you figure out how they win ball games. They slowly break you down. You have SGA that's a phenomenal scorer, and he's going to get his bucket. Then they hit all these threes. They have all these young players that do all this shit. And then, honestly, they got away. They got away with whatever the hell happened with that deep San Antonio 3 in game 1 or whatever it was. San Antonio got away with one. Now looking back at how San Antonio operates, oh my God, I'm surprised they didn't lose more games, or they didn't lose it to OKC. And then you start watching these Spurs and Knicks games, and my boy Sammy Baby was hooking me up with the first quarter bets of San Antonio, and I was like, "Are you sure, bro? First quarter that seems kind of shaky. What if Wemby just ain't him in the first quarter?" And each time they cashed. Each single time, every single time they cashed, the Spurs would be up, probably if not 5 points, 10 points, 12 points, 20 points. We know about the 29-point game comeback that happened. That was one of the games that made me happy for the year. That made me happy for the year. I don't have to watch any more basketball till probably January, where I was just like, I just saw something amazing. I just witnessed a crazy moment in sports for this year, and I'm good. I'm good after that. All I want is some entertainment at the end of the day, right? All of this, all of that. Oh my gosh, bro. I'm like out of breath and shit. So then they finally pull it off. And you start realizing like, oh, okay, now I finally see what's happening. San Antonio would always be up in the first quarter, and then slowly they would increase on the lead. And then this fourth quarter would come, and you just have this feeling like, bro, like New York is just hanging around a little too much. Like they're just always hanging around. And then something about that 6-minute mark. That 6-minute mark every single game, it felt like the Spurs, it was like, oh, this game's done. Like it became one of those scores and times where it's like, this is done. Let's move on to the next activity of the night. Jalen Brunson would hit a 3. Come down, ball rolls. Oh, shit, San Antonio turnover. Come back down, Josh Hart 3. Boom. Wemby missed 3. Come back down. Karl Anthony Towns, he spins to the basket. He gets one at the rim. Boom, timeout. And then next thing you know, turnover again. Oh, we got Brunson. Oh, my gosh. He's going to the basket. Fall away. Bang, another 2. And then next thing you know, it's a 1-point game. And it's just like, oh, my gosh, did San Antonio just lose again? And every single game they would do this, where they would just start speeding it up every 6-minute mark, where it's just like, bro, this game just feels like it's gotten messier from maybe both sides. But the team that's handling with the mess better is the Knicks. San Antonio turning the ball over, missing certain layups. Obviously, like Wemby seems tired out of his mind. And it's like, what happened? This team is so good. I love this Spurs team. Don't get me wrong. Dylan Harper, oh my gosh, he should have won Rookie of the Year, bro. I understand I'm supposed to be a Cooper Flag stan, woohoo. But man, you playing like that at 19 years old in the finals, that's some legendary shit. No, like I get it, they lost all these games, but man, he was amazing. that team is young, and I think it'll be something to see in the next like 3 years. Like San Antonio is winning a championship in the next 5 years for sure. So shout out New York City. Seeing all the snaps right now, like all the parties and stuff like that is it's insane. It makes me want to party, where it's just like, man, that feeling, I couldn't imagine that as an adult. Where you the team that you just are always cheering for, you win a championship, and you're just like, I just want to go out and party with the people. Sports celebrations, there's nothing like it. Sports, it's a beauty. Okay, so anyways, I have been mainly wedding to wedding, and then just honestly, look, at the end of the day, once I got back from Vegas, I did a couple episodes, and I was just like, man, all right, this is coming up, the end of paternity leave, and then I'm gonna have to start working in a couple weeks, and then, okay, are we staying in California, or are we going to Houston? That this became a much heavier thing, because it's like, okay, you should probably decide now. It was weighing heavy on my mind. I think it was weighing heavy on my wife's mind, and it's like, this is hurting, like not knowing what you got to be doing in 2 months time, so you can start prepping for it now mentally. Maybe you start buying less stuff, maybe you're packing stuff, and you could just feel it weighing on us. So a lot of the time that I would have, and I'm like, okay, I should probably record right now, this and that. There's just no desire, bro. There's just no desire. Like life comes first, bro. I love doing this for the most part. I get a good feeling afterwards, after the episode's done and I post it and people talk about it, like, talk to me about it. But bro, it's a tough decision, like where you're like, the job that actually makes you money in life, are you going to hold on to the one that you got over there and move away from friends and family? Or are you going to, now, since you've squandered the time of not really finding a new job here, and haven't had really a lot of luck with other prospects that you have applied for, do you want to be unemployed for a bit, but you get to stay around for friends and family? You're in the nice, safe home state. And ladies and gentlemen, I am here today to tell you we finally came to a decision, and we are going back to Cali. That is correct. It came down to kind of just like mainly the job, bro. Mainly the job. I think you keep a good job in today's age. And I say that with a bit hesitancy, because I do think people are hiring pretty at a high number, based on someone that has hung out on LinkedIn for the last couple of months. There's a lot of job postings, and I get it. Like the market for those jobs is probably 5x, 10x, but you have to expect at some point, like, okay, you know what? It seems like this unemployment rate that's being, advertised with the 4 to 7%, whatever it is, there has to be enough jobs for like, people that are maybe above the curve a bit, right? Whether you have a college education, whether you have years of experience, whether you're in the state that, requires a job. You don't need a visa, all that stuff. You'd expect like, all right, like I'll be able to get a job. And if I applied probably the same way that I applied when I was laid off, I think I would have gotten a job. Like you just have to, it's the law of large numbers. You apply to 40 jobs, maybe you get like 10 interviews. And then from there, you hope, you just hope. At the end of my unemployment, I basically got the very last job that was on the plate. There was no interviews after that. There was no other prospects. That was the end of the funnel for all of those applications. And so then it came down to, okay, you know what? We go where the job is, and we have an uncle that's helping us out with the place. So, I mean, he's not paying for it, but you know what I'm saying? He is giving us quite the deal to live in his place. So, it's kind of a win-win situation. And a good friend told me it is easier to go inland than it is to go outland. Whatever the hell that means. No. Basically, it was just like, it's easier to move back home than it is to take your life later on and go live it out there. And right now, with us having a child that is about 5 months old, it seems manageable. It seems like, okay, we can go somewhere and live, and her life isn't, it's affected by the people that she can be around, but the benefits come as like, okay, you're near a coastal city, you can take her to the beach, you can, like be outside more, you can take her to the park, you can be outdoors more in general. But we're at the part in life where now that both of us are back to work, you have to figure out childcare. Do you figure out someone that comes over to the house? Do you hire someone? Do you hire someone that comes over to the house? Do you find a little daycare situation? And that was going to be the same whether we were in Houston or in Irvine. And sure, it's like, okay, but it's more expensive in Irvine. Yeah, but why not take on an more expensive lifestyle in a state where two people have jobs versus, not a cheap life, and your income as a family is cut in half. So that's what kind of it comes down to. Yes, we understand money has been lost in this situation, that we found a place, we moved in, we furnished it, we filled it up. You fill up the space that you have, you get a 4-bedroom house, you got to fill up the bedrooms. I criticize my friends a ton that they don't fill up their bedrooms. I'm like, what are you doing? Just get a fucking queen in here and just do it already. Because I do think that, but I also don't knock the other side of it, where it's like, nah, like I don't want to furnish this room till we're ready, till we can get it right. I do appreciate that. But maybe it's just the osmosis effect from my wife, where it's just like, no, this needs to be filled up. This house needs to be done and be, operating before you, versus like every other week you're going into a room being like, ooh, I should work on that a little bit. Ooh, I should work on that a little bit. I feel like that just happens naturally. And it has felt nice. I think maybe post kids, you think about that less, because you're just like, I just need to watch this kid. I need things to change way less than I need a constant. So with that okay, her life isn't too crazy, right? We have to find childcare there. We take her there, find childcare, and then, try to figure out life from there. It's tough. It's tough because the friends and family aspect of Texas is so nice, bro. Within a day's notice, you can be in Dallas, right? You can just drive over to someone's baby shower, hang out, and you knock out so many people, right? You knock out family, you knock out friends of mine, friends of hers, and there's always something, right? You're very rarely bored. It helps a couple where you have other people in your kind of like orbit, and you're interacting with them, versus just in California how we are going to be most of the time, where it's just us two. We're gonna we'll probably be doing more trips and stuff like that. But hanging out with friends, the 4 years we were in LA, I barely saw people. We were doing stuff most of the time, but barely saw people. And then, if you really want to know what's in my head, it's like this is the second act, baby. This is the second act. We're back in California. We're not in Los Angeles. We're in Orange County, but boy, we're back, baby. I got chewed up and spat out once. You think you can do it again? Huh? Yeah. You fell down the mountain. You tried to climb. You barely got up there, and you fell down and you stayed down. Well, guess what? The mountain's back. The mountain's back. And it's a fun feeling. I wanted to do that in Houston, get out there, try to be in a little bit of show business. You know what I'm saying? How do you even start? You keep seeing these people that aren't that funny on Instagram, and it's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't talk about them. They work harder than you in these fields. And my life's going pretty good. Got this wife, got this kid. I'm blessed. We're blessed to get this chance to go back to California. And so that's why we really want to take it. Have the kid number 2 and then call it a day and be back in the blender, baby. We're keeping the move small. So other than that, that is my life update. We have had a couple of weddings in the past couple of weeks. So her cousin was in Orlando. Fun wedding, man. Honestly, first of all, it is different with a kid. It's very different with the kid, where like you're just like snapping back and forth from realities, right? You live in this reality where, you're at cocktail hour, you're having a good time, you're having a couple of drinks. Ooh, the kebab, this and that. Ooh, shit, do I need to use the restroom before we get in there? I don't know, whatever. Like, let's get back in line for drinks and let's get shots. Like that's you're in that reality, and then boom, you snap back. You hear your child crying, and then you're over here and you're changing a diaper, or you're helping your wife with nursing or whatever it is, and then boom, you're back in the room. You hear the music, your friends are dancing, you're back over here where the child needs to take a nap now, and it's like, whoa, bro. Like this ain't as fun. I'm gonna be, let's just keep it real. This isn't not as fun to deal with a child that is off their sleep schedule. You gotta break away from the fun to go nurse. You're wearing these uncomfortable outfits half the time. It's hot as hell. It could be a pricey, whatever it is. It's tough. It was much easier when it was just us two going to these weddings and there's one less bag. You don't have to account for a pack and play in the room. You're waking up at whatever time, you're sleeping good hours. It's different with the kid. Now, don't get me wrong. It helps for the attention. Oh boy, you get a lot of eyes on you when you got that small baby at the wedding. People be looking, oh my gosh, oh, like who is that? They had a kid. Oh, like that's so nice. How old is she? And you get asked the same stuff all the time. Oh, how is it as a father? How are you doing as a dad? It's like, yeah, cool. I'm doing the thing. We keep listening to the internet. Oh, make sure you start sleep training. Do the Ferber method, and you just let them cry it out until they're screaming, and the tears have created a puddle under their face. So now the mattress is soaked through, their face is wet, and guess what? They're still crying. Did they fall asleep? Guess what? They'll wake up and start crying again. That's the Ferber method. You go in there, you try to pat their back, but they can't even hear the words coming out of your mouth because they're screaming still. And you're trying to pat their back saying, don't worry, darling, we're outside. You can go to sleep. You can do this on your own. The YouTube video told me to say this. You leave that room, that baby's still screaming. We're doing thing. We're trying the whole the script, the baby script. You have a baby, make sure you sleep train them. Then you start solids, put them in school. Like that's how being a father is going right now. Oh, what, you want some deep message? Oh, she's the other half of my soul. And when I look into her eyes in the morning, it feels like I am finally complete. What is that what you want to hear, bro? Is that, I get it. You're looking for something to talk about. We rarely see each other, and it's like, let me ask this guy a question. Huh? I'm playing with this kid. I can tell he doesn't really like it, and he keeps looking at me every single time I give my finger to his baby. But let me ask him a question. How's life as a father? Oh shit, give me a second. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, bro. And you live in those two realities. So it was pretty. It was a shocking effect. Well, I knew it'd be different, right? I've watched my sister and brother-in-law have a kid at a wedding. I've been at weddings with them, and I know how it's a bit different. But I have personally never felt it to that level where it is your child. You are responsible. But it was still a good time. I think we did a good job at pushing that boundary of like, okay, you know what? No, we want to be active with the kid. Like, we don't want to just be like, no, the kid needs to be asleep by 9 p.m. in their pack and play in the hotel room, white noise machine. Let's push that a bit. Like, let's still enjoy life. It is very rare that, family gathers like this. It only happens at weddings, and 5 years go by, then you see each other again, and then it goes by. It's like you got to enjoy it when it does happen. I'm not trying to push for more meetups or less meetups. It is what it is. They're programmed in time, and if you try to do a good, families do a different amount of jobs at how diligent they are in seeing each other. It is what it is. Her family is pretty diligent in this. My family, not so much. Immediate family, yeah, but we're not really like hanging out with extended cousins and stuff like that. Her family is, and this was my first wedding as like the new kid on the block, right? Because the last wedding before this was. On her side, it was her wedding, so my wedding. And, I've met a handful of them at different events, whether it's the baby shower, the wedding, whatever it was. But this was at a different level because you're with them, for a prolonged period of time. Now you're in the family dance. Whoa, this is pretty interesting, huh? I've joined a new clan. All right, I guess I'm mobbing with these people. Do I go for his shoes? Like what level is my involvement here? And it's cool because it's like you're not just like new to the block, right? You didn't just get married. You got married and had a kid. So this brother is integrated. Like we I guess we just have to just let the doors down. There is no door of like, do we like him? Do we not like him? You are welcoming me in at that point, right? Like it just is what it is. I'm not trying to beat my chest or whatever, but it did feel much easier to kind of just dive in and be me versus in previous interactions I've been a bit more reserved, like, oh, like, yeah, I'm not gonna really share too much of an opinion because you want to be cordial, you want to be proper. You don't need to drop the N-word at every social interaction. It's okay. You don't need the shock value. You're funny without it. And so it was fun having that whole aspect. The only thing that kind of killed the vibe the whole weekend was just, man, bartenders at hotels be hoeing, bro. They be hoeing. They be killing the fun. Like when you gotta get in line for a shot of liquor and they give it to you with some ice because they can't give you a shot, and then you like, oh yeah, let me get 9 shots because you got the squad, right? And then like they're like, no, I can only serve you 2. These people at this hotel were like, I can only serve you 1. Like, bro, what, you slowing down the fun. And then the next wedding, you see these bartenders that they don't care, bro. You said 9, they're pouring up 9. You want the bottle? They'll just hand you the bottle at that point. And the biggest hack, bro, and I can't believe we discovered this at the end of our like wedding life, where it's like we went to all these weddings over the year. And now finally at the tail end of it, we're figuring out this thing, and maybe we're behind the curve. I know a lot of like Oriental Asian people do this at their weddings, where at the reception they have liquor bottles on the table. So then it's like, you serve yourself, and sometimes that causes a commotion. And I can understand that, you don't want people getting too rowdy, this and that. But as someone who personally wants liquor, like during the program at the reception, bring your own bottle. It's really not that crazy. Like I get it if you're at a resort and stuff like that, it's kind of hard to manage that. But if you're at a local wedding, like you should be hitting the liquor store for like 4 or 5 bottles personally throughout the weekend. You need 1 for your room, 1 for dance practice, and then two for safety, and then 1 for the reception. And that is the trick, bro. You really want to have some fun at the wedding? Be that person. Be the person that if you're local, you pick up 5 bottles of liquor. One's for the car bar. Did that. 2, just having in the rooms before, maybe pre-gaming the events. 3, dance practice specifically. 4, before the reception. And 5, at the reception. Those are the 5 bottles you need, bro. I'm putting you on gas. Trust me, man. But anyways, we brought a bottle to the reception. And it was a game changer, bro, because you get to kind of just sip throughout the program. You don't have to, have this empty glass every single time people want to say, and I would like to raise a glass, and I would like to raise a glass, and I would like to raise a glass. And it's like, all right, bro, did you not hear the 3 speeches before you say, and I would like to raise a glass? I get it. You have it written down on your notes app, but you don't have to say it. Right, you just heard all these other people say it. I get it. You might be a little nervous. The lights are bright, and there's a lot of people in here looking at you. But like if someone made your same joke, like 2 minutes before you don't say the same thing, or you address, hey, someone needs to. Okay, this is the easiest joke. Like when you're making the toast, make a joke about, I know your glasses are empty, but just pick up your water, and I'd like to raise a water to the lovely couple. Like, think about that, bro. I'm giving y'all the trade secrets at this point, bro. I'm giving you the Otis whatever cookie recipe. Anyways, we had a couple weddings, and then the bartenders talked about baby, and the last thing was just like the boys are always going to be the boys. You know what I'm saying? Like watching hoops and being hype in the group chat during these periods, and getting together as groomsmen. I love having skin in the game. Like I love being a groomsman. I love being part of a bridal party, and it's like bridal party. You know what I'm saying? Like or a brother of the bride, whatever it is. My wedding, it doesn't even matter. I like being part of the function. I don't like just being a spectator to the sport. And it's a fun time to be with the boys, and you look around and it's like, Damn, bro, look at us. Look at us. We're married. People starting to get loaded up with their first kid. Next time we turn the page and we see probably all each other again. Maybe we'll turn the page on kid number 2. We'll hang out occasionally. We see each other here and there, but nothing like a wedding, bro. Nothing like a wedding, bro. And there's nothing like being with the boys. Hey, I'm not gonna keep it too long because it's the first episode back, and then I just want to save stuff. This was just kind of a catch up. Wanted to tell y'all about the move to LA, and then really just use the effort that I had in the tank to knock this out. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys listening. If you are, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. I'll try to be a little bit more consistent, and I will see you guys next time, and goodbye.